49. The last president inaugurated in the United States. The span of terrible days after the global comms blackout when the world was reshaped. The number of strange supernatural phenomena that appear around the globe. You're listening to The 49, the new series by Andrew Kooman. Get the content right in your inbox when you subscribe at the49.substack.com. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Welcome to the world of The 49.
Boyer traveled to LA the night before. It was an uneventful trip. She took the loop from Calgary. The main station was the former grounds of the world-famous Stampede. The grounds once welcomed millions of people to gamble, watch chuckwagon races, take whirly rides, and indulge in food and drink. It was now a quiet place of gathering where people barely made eye contact as they went underground to catch rides in self-driving taxis throughout Corridor West, or took the even faster loop north or south. Her call time was late morning. She wanted to be in the city as little as possible. Get in, get out. The thought that she would be on the game gave her chills. The show was a staple of entertainment in the corridors, exported to streaming feeds around the world, where walls kept the darkness out and where societies rebuilt. She couldn't deny the degenerate genius of the show. Make public examples of criminals. Demand all of society watch as the drama of their self-adjudicated legal case unfolds, and then have the audience vote. Everyone had a personal stake in the justice of Corridor West. Everyone had blood on their hands. She could never get used to it. It was undeniably gripping content. Because each person was unique, even though the format rarely changed, the experience of watching someone slowly wake up from the drug-induced coma and piece together why they were in the room, as objects of evidence from their crime appeared, was heart-pounding television, especially in the hung jury cases where 2 contestants were implicated. Solo trials were also fascinating, but in those cases, the audience often only had to decide how the individual died, or, in non-capital cases, where they would be off-worlded, and for how long, to the Asteroid Belts or the moon. Boyer got the alert when she was sitting in the chair for hair and makeup. The takeover started. Every device in the room projected the image of Foxtrot lying on the floor. The overhead shot was a close-up that framed his face. "What's it like to see that face?" The woman doing her hair and makeup asked as the camera zoomed out to reveal Foxtrot's body. He was starting to move, waking. Boyer looked at the woman in the mirror. They were masked when they attacked. I wouldn't have recognized him. The stylist looked away from the monitor in the corner of the room and back to Boyer. "Well, I'm going to make you unforgettable," she said. "It's rare to have someone dropped into the show. The audience is going to love you." She was braiding Boyer's hair. "This sweetgrass is a hassle, but it's going to look beautiful." "What's with the grass?" Boyer asked. "It represents the sacred hair of Mother Earth, and the braiding process is a way to honor her and create connections between us and the natural world." The women winked at Boyer. "The producers gave me a whole packet." "And?" Boyer asked. "Do you feel more connected to Mother Earth now?" "Not yet. Is that how they're playing me? As indigenous?" "Aren't you? Not from here. But you're the girl from Mesquasis, the envoy." "But I'm not from there." "Oh." The woman gently placed her hands on Boyer's shoulders. "Well, wait till you see the beadwork. Full cultural appropriation, honey. I'm sorry. My friends at the Foz are gonna love it." At the mention of the Foz, the woman removed her hands from Boyer's shoulders and stepped toward the makeup tray nearby that was on wheels. She busied herself arranging product. Boyer recognized the discomfort. The tell was always in the eyes, how they darted away, avoided eye contact, glazed over. The ability people had, especially in this part of the world, to push away the supernatural, even as it stared them in the face, still astounded her. People would share the most intimate moments of their lives, their hygiene routines, fitness and cleaning tips, their dating horror stories, and their struggle sessions. From dinner tables to bathrooms and even the bedroom, people would film, record, capture these moments, and broadcast them to the world on their public social channels. And yet the discussion of the supernatural would cause them to blush. "They expect to sell out of the extensions," the woman said, returning with a tube of product that she rubbed between her palms, warming it. Boyer touched the sweetgrass in her hair. "You'll set a whole new trend." As the woman massaged the product into her hair to give it a shine for the cameras, Boyer looked herself over. She hardly recognized the woman in the mirror. She saw an anime version of herself staring back. The production team had dressed her in an outfit that suggested the clothes she wore when her convoy was attacked. But if anyone was paying attention, or if anyone pulled an image from the original footage and did a side-by-side, they'd see how many liberties the creative team took. She was sure her cargo pants didn't have an empire waist. She didn't own a push-up bra. The girdle she had to squeeze into that crushed her internal organs created curves she didn't have. The salon-styled hair and makeup gave her pouty, bee-stung lips and made her look like a caricature. "You're beautiful," the stylist said genuinely, just as Boyer thought. "You look ridiculous."
It had to be broken, Diaz thought, as he flailed underwater. Pain shot through his ankle as he pulled at the water, the ropes floating by his head. Anything he could grab at or reach for as his lungs bled air. Seconds more and he was a dead man. The governor didn't account for a bear attack or a shoreline drowning. His hand hit something solid. He couldn't see in the murky tidewaters as he took hold. The seat. He felt around and pushed his hand upward. It broke the surface of the water into a pocket of air. The overturned boat wasn't submerged. He grabbed hold of the seat with his other hand and pulled his body upward. His foot was agony as he did so, broken and now dislocated. Wouldn't matter if he was dead. He pulled and was able to poke his chin above the water. His mouth and nose broke the surface too, and he gasped for air. He drank in oxygen from the little cavern created by the capsized boat and laughed. Above him, he could hear the bear raging, pounding against the boat. It shifted, and he was pulled under again. He reached above him and groped for the seat, found it and pulled his body upward once more. There was still a pocket of air. His foot seemed to tear even more. He had to get free. He took a deep breath and pulled himself underwater and waved his arms like flippers, tucking his knees, pulling his chest toward his feet. He felt around in the silky darkness, found his ankles, explored the area with his hands. His feet were wedged between the side of the boat and a heavy box of gear. The boat was pinned against the rocky shore. There was no way he could move it. "Is this how I go?" he wondered. Drowned in a few feet of water, Diaz stretched his body back out and scrambled to find the seat again. He grabbed the bars and pulled. His nose and mouth now barely cleared the water's surface. The air pocket was disappearing. He remembered the knife in the pocket of his pants, given to him by the governor's crew. "Do I cut my leg off above the ankle?" He recalled a famous story he read in an outdoor magazine of a man who was hiking alone and fell into a crevice. After hours of resistance, he finally realized his only way to survive was to cut off his own arm that was pinned in the fall, to get out of the obscure location and find rescue. Even if he could summon the will to sever his own leg from his own ankle, he wouldn't have time. He'd drown before he could cut through the tendon, muscle, bone. Before that, he'd pass out and drown, before he could make a quarter inch of progress through his skin. "Father," he thought as the waters came to his lips and covered them completely. Help, the only plea on his mind he could make with the final breath of air before his nostrils were submerged. And then he was under, completely, swallowed like Jonah on the strange, impossible trip away from Nineveh by the waters of the sea. The whale belly, he was consumed by an upside-down electric-powered speedboat sent on a covert mission to verify whether or not a manifestation of the glory of God had fallen in a precise geographic location. The sailors who threw him overboard the massive grizzly bear that must have swam from the mainland to the island where they weren't native, but where the food must be worth the risk of passage. It was a modern parable. The thought made him laugh underwater. The air bubbled out of his lungs. A parable that no one would hear, because it would never be told. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his faithful servants, Diaz thought, and his body was racked with another laugh. The words of the terrible, beautiful psalm rushed over him like the waves that bobbed his body. Waves. As he fought the urge to not open his mouth to swallow for air, he realized his foot was free. His body had been churned in the water that moments earlier was flat and still, aside from his frantic movements. The tide. He pulled at the surface with his hands and kicked with his uninjured leg. Suddenly, he was out of the water. He breathed in foamy surf, sand, rocks, and precious air. His lungs burned with the beautiful pain of being alive. He flailed his arms, and they found rocks. His knuckles and cheek scraped the beach. There'd be 100 cuts, but the pain was a clarifying reminder that he was alive. He started to laugh. He dug his elbows into the sand, and rock and military crawled further. When his torso was completely on dry land, he collapsed. Exhausted, exhilarated. He coughed into the sand, then gasped for air. He rolled to his side to get his bearings. The world was a green and gray blur. 5 feet, within reach, the brown hump of the bear was on the sand. Diaz sat up and crab crawled away from it in panic. He scrambled a few feet before he realized it was dead. Its face was in the water, its right paw on the bow of the boat. An arrow stood straight up, a vertical line that broke the blue horizon. That's when Diaz felt the presence behind him. Before he could think, he turned. 3 men in camo towered on the beach. One had a bow slung over his shoulder. One pulled a bowstring taut. The arrowhead pointed at Diaz's chest. The other held an AR-15. "You're not the governor," said the one with the bow slung over his shoulder. "No," Diaz said, as he raised his hands, once again, in the universal symbol of "Don't kill me. What are you doing on our beach?"
Thanks for listening to this portion of The 49 by Andrew Kooman. New content drops for paid subscribers every Monday at the49.substack.com. That's the49.substack.com. On Tuesdays, we release new audio on all your favorite podcast platforms. If you like what you're hearing, make sure you subscribe and to share it with a friend. Thanks for listening to The 49.